Subscribe to Storylab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. The garage door rolled up with a metallic screech as Derek Hawthorne pulled into what used to be his sanctuary. 15 years of marriage, and Amanda had never once stepped foot in his workshop. Now she stood there like she owned the place, her manicured fingers wrapped around the tattooed forearm of Rico, the bulldozer Vega. Derek had seen Rico's face plastered on fight posters around town. Local MMA circuit, more flash than substance. What he hadn't expected was to find him in his garage, wearing his favorite Metallica t-shirt. "We need to talk," Amanda said, her voice carrying that ice-cold tone he'd heard too often lately. Derek stepped out of his pickup, noting how Rico positioned himself slightly in front of Amanda. Protective stance. Military training kicked in automatically, cataloging exits, weapons, threats. Old habits from Kandahar province. Talk about what, exactly? Derek kept his voice level, but his eyes never left Rico's hands. "I'm leaving you," Amanda announced, lifting her chin defiantly. "I've been seeing Rico for 8 months. I'm filing for divorce Monday." 8 months. Derek's jaw tightened as he calculated. Right around the time she'd started her yoga classes and girls' nights out. Right around the time she'd stopped touching him, stopped looking at him, stopped being his wife in any way that mattered. "So you brought your boyfriend to my house to tell me this?" Derek asked. Rico stepped forward, cracking his knuckles with deliberate menace. The sound echoed off the concrete walls like gunshots. "Leave now or I'll put you in the hospital," he growled, his Boston accent thick with menace. "She's with a real man now." Derek chuckled softly, the sound surprising them both. It wasn't humor, it was recognition. He'd heard threats like this before, in darker places, from men who thought brutality was strength. "Cage fighting is cute," Derek said, rolling up the sleeves of his flannel shirt. The scars on his forearms caught the fluorescent light, some from shrapnel, others from knives. "But 15 years destroying terrorists in Afghanistan taught me 47 ways to end a life with my bare hands." Rico stepped back instinctively, but then his pride overruled his survival instinct. That's when he made his huge mistake. He swung. Derek moved like water, muscle memory from countless life or death encounters guiding him. He caught Rico's wrist mid-swing, twisted, and had the fighter face down on the concrete in 3 seconds flat. Rico's arm was bent at an angle that suggested any pressure would snap it like kindling. "Stop!" Amanda screamed. "Derek, let him go." "This is my house," Derek said quietly, maintaining the hold. "You want to leave? Leave. But you don't threaten me in my own home." He released Rico, who scrambled backward, clutching his wrist. "You're both sick," Amanda spat. "Rico, let's go." As they hurried toward Rico's Dodge Challenger, Amanda turned back. "I'm taking half of everything, Derek. The house, your savings, your precious truck. My lawyer says." "Your lawyer can call mine," Derek interrupted. "But Amanda, next time you want to bring muscle to intimidate me, make sure it's someone who knows what Real fighting looks like." Rico gunned the engine, laying rubber as they fled. Derek stood in his garage for a long time after they left, studying the oil stain where Rico had hit the ground. 15 years of marriage, and this is how it ended. Not with tears or reconciliation attempts, but with threats and humiliation. He walked to his workbench and opened the bottom drawer, pulling out a satellite phone he hadn't used in 3 years. Some connections from his military days never went away. They just waited in the shadows. Time to make some calls. The first strike came 3 days later. Derek arrived at Titan Security Solutions Monday morning to find his key card deactivated and his boss, Glenn Hoffman, waiting in the parking lot with a security guard and a cardboard box. "Sorry, Derek," Glenn said, not meeting his eyes. "I got some calls over the weekend. Domestic violence allegations. Company policy is zero tolerance." "What allegations?" Derek's voice was deadly quiet. "Your wife filed a restraining order. Says you threatened her and her friend." "Look, I believe you, but corporate won't take the risk, especially with the new government contracts." Derek took the box containing his personal items, a coffee mug from his unit, a photo of his team in Helmand province, a paperweight made from a Taliban IED fragment. "Glenn, I've worked here 6 years. Never missed a day, never had a complaint. I know, buddy. This kills me. But my hands are tied. Derek knew exactly whose hands had tied them. That evening, he sat in O'Malley's pub, nursing a whiskey and watching the local news on the mounted TV. A story came on about Rico's upcoming fight at the Riverside Casino, his shot at the regional middleweight title. The camera showed Rico training, Amanda cheering from ringside like some kind of ring girl groupie. Rough day. The bartender, a grizzled ex-Navy man named Murphy, slid over a fresh drink. Getting rougher, Derek admitted. The next morning brought the second wave. Derek's truck wouldn't start, sugar in the gas tank, all 4 tires slashed. A note tucked under the windshield wiper. Still think you're tough, soldier boy? R. His phone rang. Amanda's lawyer, a shark named Beverly Cross. Mr. Hawthorne, my client, is prepared to be reasonable. Sign the divorce papers with the proposed settlement. Drop any contest to the restraining order, and this can all be over quickly. And if I don't, then we discuss your history, PTSD episodes, violent tendencies, the incident with your former unit commander that got you discharged early. Derek's blood went cold. That incident was classified, buried so deep that Amanda shouldn't have known about it. But somehow she did. How much does she want? 70% of marital assets. You keep your truck and your tools. She keeps the house, the savings, the 401k. I'll think about it. That night, Derek made his decision. But it wasn't surrender. He drove to the old steel mill on the outskirts of town, where he'd arranged to meet Tommy Kowalski. Tommy had served 3 tours with Derek in Afghanistan before going private sector, the kind of private sector that didn't ask questions. You look like hell, Sergeant, Tommy said, using Derek's old rank. Feel worse. I need a favor, Tommy. Off the books. What kind of favor? Derek handed him a thumb drive. Background checks. Deep ones. I want to know everything about Rico Vega and my soon-to-be ex-wife. Bank accounts, criminal history, family connections. Everything. This about the divorce. This is about war. While Tommy worked his magic, Derek began phase 2. He'd spent 15 years learning that the most effective warfare wasn't frontal assault. It was patience, planning, and precise strikes at structural weaknesses. Rico might know how to fight in a cage, but Derek knew how to destroy a man's entire world. 2 weeks later, Derek had what he needed. Rico Vega wasn't just an MMA fighter. He was a small-time loan shark who used his gym as a front. He'd been skimming money from local businesses, using intimidation to collect debts that sometimes didn't exist. The kind of operation that survived because people were too scared to report it. Amanda had been helping. Her job at the dental office was a cover. She'd been laundering Rico's cash through fake billing procedures, using her access to patient information to create false identities for bank accounts. But the most interesting discovery was Rico's real weakness. His younger sister Maria, a college student at State who had no idea how her brother paid for her tuition. Derek made his move on the night of Rico's big fight. He arrived at the Riverside Casino early, dressed in a server's uniform he'd acquired through contact from his security days. Years of blending into hostile environments made infiltrating a casino child's play. Amanda was at ringside, wearing a dress that probably cost more than Derek's monthly mortgage payment. She looked radiant, confident, like a woman who'd already won everything she wanted. Rico was in his dressing room, getting his hands wrapped when Derek slipped inside. Security check, Derek announced to Rico's corner crew. They barely looked up from their preparations. Hey, soldier boy, Rico sneered when he spotted Derek. Come and watch me become champion? Actually, I came to deliver something, Derek said, pulling out his phone and playing a video. The screen showed Rico's gym after hours. Rico and 2 associates beating a small businessman who couldn't pay their inflated protection fee. The timestamp was from last month. Where did you get this? Rico's face went white. Same place I got these, Derek said, showing photos of Amanda doctoring dental records, creating fake identities, moving money through fraudulent accounts. You son of a... The FBI will receive copies of everything if you walk out to that cage tonight, Derek continued calmly. But I'm reasonable. I have a different proposal. What kind of proposal? Derek smiled. And for the first time in weeks, it was genuine. You're going to throw the fight. And Amanda is going to discover what it feels like to lose everything she stole from me. You're insane. I'm not throwing anything. Your sister Maria is a lovely girl. Pre-med, full scholarship that you supplement with your business earnings. Be ashamed if State University learned where that money really comes from. Rico lunged forward, but Derek was ready. A quick jab to the solar plexus dropped the fighter to his knees, gasping. Here's what's going to happen, Derek said, kneeling beside him. You're going to take a dive in the third round. Make it look good. You're a decent actor. Meanwhile, Amanda is going to discover that all those offshore accounts she set up, they've been emptied. The money's been donated to veterans' charities in her name. The money, that's not just hers. That's mine. Was yours. Past tense. Oh, and one more thing. Derek pulled out a marriage certificate. Turns out Amanda never actually filed for divorce. She's been too busy setting up your little money laundering operation, which means she's still my wife, which means I have legal access to all our joint accounts. Rico stared at the papers in horror. But here's the beautiful part, Derek continued. I've been recording everything. Your threats, the money transfers, Amanda's involvement. I've got enough evidence to send you both away for a decade. Or, he stood up, brushing off his server's jacket. You can walk away. Tonight. Leave town, leave Amanda, leave everything behind. Start over somewhere else. And if I don't, Derek's smile disappeared. Then you'll discover what 15 years of Black Ops training really means. And Rico, in Afghanistan, we didn't have rules. 30 minutes later, Derek was in the crowd when Rico entered the cage. The fighter looked pale, shaken, nothing like the confident predator who'd threatened Derek in his own garage. The fight lasted exactly 2 rounds and 43 seconds. Rico took a perfectly timed fall from a punch that barely grazed him, selling it like a knockout. The crowd booed. The promoters screamed fraud. But by the time anyone could investigate, Rico Vega had vanished. Derek found Amanda in the casino parking lot, screaming into her phone at someone about missing money. Account's been frozen, she was saying. What do you mean the FBI flagged it? Having a rough night? Derek asked. Amanda spun around, her face a mask of fury and panic. You did this. Did what? I've been here all evening, watching your boyfriend lose the biggest fight of his career. Where's Rico? Last I saw him, he was headed for the parking garage. Seemed to be in a hurry. Amanda ran toward the garage, her heels clicking frantically on the pavement. Derek followed at a leisurely pace, arriving just in time to see her discover Rico's empty parking space. He left you, Derek observed, just like you left me. Amanda whirled on him, tears streaming down her face. You bastard. You've ruined everything. I've ruined nothing. You destroyed our marriage for a criminal and a coward. I just made sure you got exactly what you deserved. The money is gone. All of it. Donated to the Wounded Warrior Project and the Veterans Crisis Line. In your name, of course. Very generous of you. I'll call the police. I'll tell them you threatened us. Derek pulled out his phone and played a recording. Amanda's voice, clear as day, discussing money laundering and identity theft with Rico. Go ahead and call them, Derek said. I'm sure they'd love to hear this. Amanda collapsed against a concrete pillar, sobbing. You want to know the difference between you and me? Derek asked quietly. When I made vows to you, I meant them. For better or worse, in sickness and health. You broke those vows the first time you touched another man. You declared war on our marriage, on our life together. He knelt down beside her, his voice dropping to a whisper. But here's what you never understood about me, Amanda. In war, I don't lose. I don't forgive. And I never, ever forget. Derek stood up, leaving his wedding ring on the ground beside her. The divorce papers are in the mail. You can keep whatever's left of your dignity, but everything else? Everything you tried to steal from me? That's gone forever. As he walked away, Derek felt something he hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Not happiness. That would take time to heal. But the cold, satisfied peace of a mission accomplished. Behind him, Amanda's sobs echoed through the empty parking garage, the sound of a woman discovering that some betrayals carry a price that can never be paid in full. Derek drove home to his empty house, poured himself a whiskey, and began planning his new life. Rico was gone, probably halfway to Mexico by now. Amanda would spend the next decade trying to convince prosecutors she'd been manipulated and coerced. And Derek? Derek would sleep soundly for the first time in months, knowing that justice, his kind of justice, had finally been served. Some wars end with treaties. Others end with unconditional surrender. This one ended with the complete and total destruction of everyone who had dared to cross a man who had learned, in the darkest corners of the world, that mercy was a luxury reserved for those who had never truly been betrayed.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.